Nick will probably, if he doesn't do this, he'll probably straight after go off and...
Yeah, we'll get something.
He'll do it and post it somewhere so you can see it's done if we do run out of time.
Oh.
What?
Oh.
That's brilliant. Is it working?
Yes, but I have time.
That's so impressive. What are you saying?
I want the arrows to be red and no background.
Okay.
Because this is what they look like now.
But that's working. If you click now, that's working, is it?
Yeah, it works.
That's amazing. Oh! Well, I'm impressed. I think that's amazing. Right, what are we at? 54 seconds left to go. Nick, are you going to stick or twist at this point?
How much time?
54 seconds.
I'm going.
Okay. Jessica?
Yeah.
54 seconds.
Well, it is what it is.
I love your...
That's not an arrow with a tail. What is that?
Was that it?
No,
what happened?
I had a beautiful arrow. And then revert.
We're going to be really strict on the time today as well. When it cuts
27.
off, 25
okay.
seconds, so there's no revoking after the time's up.
Okay.
And that's pretty cool.
I might have to stop here.
I think that's great.
Okay.
Can you just show us?
Yeah.
And what happens if you keep going right? Does it?
I only did two.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I'm done with the second section now.
No, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Stop the clock!
About halfway through, I was just in the bin.
Pulled it out the bag.
Yeah.
Well done. Right, shall we start with, I mean, yours isn't going to take too long to talk through, so...
Oh, I'm curious, because I was just not focusing on what you're saying.
Let's start with Jessica's, who actually built the whole page, I think. So do you want to show us?
Almost.
And show us the page and talk us through how you built it. That'd be great.
Well, I did not really do the header because, as I said earlier, it's just too complicated on the original. So I decided to, just throw on a cover block, put in the headline, and not even care about it anymore, except for making the color change to red. The second section was this. Let's scroll down here so you can see the images are not, and the contents probably do not align that much, but it is what it is. I've got the borders here. These are all buttons. Got the heading aligned and the images, and then the second section is basically almost pretty much the same. The texts do not match here, but like you get the overall feeling for it, and it's just columns, blocks, groups, and stuff.
Can we have a quick look at the back end as well, just while you're there, just so we can see?
Well, not very much different from the front end.
Yeah.
Very easy. I didn't get to the footer, but yeah.
And in terms of, were you happy? Are you happy with what happened?
Well, for 30 minutes, and I think that's pretty good.
And is there anything you're looking at that thinking I would have done that very differently in a real build, or was that?
What do you mean?
Well, is there anything that you think I would have maybe used a different block, maybe, or is that like everything there is kind of you're happy with in terms of the structure, how you built it?
No, I don't think. I mean, this is what actually. So I went for the easiest part, which is like these two content sections.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
To get something done. I don't think I would have done anything differently. I just used columns, as I said, group blocks. I did the borders here because we have now border controls at many things. The one thing I would have fine-tuned is probably removing one top border here, which I didn't do. But yeah, other than that, I'm fine.
Yeah, it's a great effort. Well done, Jessica. Fantastic.
Now let's see the
Let's not talk about mine.
Show us a slider, Nick. I think it's really good.
So yeah, so what would I do differently? A lot. Luckily, in a half an hour, we have a functioning slideshow or carousel. So I am pretty pleased that we got here. I do think that let's look at the code for any developers in the room. You'll probably be cringing. We have this extra JavaScript file that's not actually included in the block folder. It's kind of a mess. So what I would normally do is have like an instructions document that says, this is how I want my plugin kind of laid out. I probably have a lot more parameters to how the plugin should work before I even started trying to have it generate anything. I might even provide the SVG for the icons that I wanted, like the little arrows, so I wouldn't be just asking it to keep adding. So this is what my backend looks like. It tells me my site does not support said plugin, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But let's just add it.
Let's ignore that.
Yeah, let's just. Yeah, the whole thing is broken. Let's not look at the back end.
It was selling it. I was trying to sell you.
I know.
Well,
Anyway.
30 minutes are just not enough for this.
I think it was pretty awesome what you did, so well done. Right,
But close.
well done both. Amazing. Final round of applause for them both. Hope you enjoyed it. Nothing to show from table. Disappointing. But, finally, we need to have a winner. So this is over to you. So I'm going to announce somebody's name, and then I want you to cheer if you thought they did the best job. And then we don't have a prize today because I didn't manage to go out and buy one, but kudos is on offer. So if you thought that Jessica's was the best effort, scream your applause now. If you thought that Nick's
Half-baked slideshow.
half-baked buggy slider was the best effort, Captain AI, shout and scream now.
Jessica wins again.
Okay, Jessica, congratulations. You won another speed build. Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon online. Cheers. Well done, guys. Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jamie, Marcelin. Thank you very much, Jessica Lishik and Nick Diego. Right in the beginning, Nick, the AI-powered Diego did look like he had the advantage, but then is the undefeated champ, Jessica Lishik. She, as usual, she just walked through the speed build challenge. So, Jamie, looks like Jessica is here to stay as the undefeated champ of your speed build challenge. So we got some mementos from WordCamp Asia. Jamie Marcelin. Are you taking pictures? No? Do you want them to hold the thing? The bag, yeah. They want you to hold the bag. Thank you very much for all the audience. Marima Salamat po. And we have the next session starting in a minute. Then as soon as the stage is cleared, we have the next session. It's, I was told it's a campfire. So I hope Amit brought enough marshmallows for everyone. Because, did you? It's a campfire. I don't know where we are going to build the fire, but is there a fire alarm here? Smoke alarm? Yeah? Yeah, there is smoke alarm, but we don't care. We want campfire. What do you say? Ricky, we want campfire, yes? Yes. The next campfire is about, the discussion is about AI. So, we are going to clear the stage. 5 chairs. 5. 4 chairs. 4 chairs. And
Are you going to be the moderator?
yes, I'm going to be the.
We will have you right on that side because
That side. Okay. 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 So you want me to use the hand mic or
yeah, later. We have
handheld?
yes,
Okay. Oh, sorry. One.
Dahan na. Okay pa. Okay pa. Dali ah.
Hello once again, and as we set up the campfire, we just saw that a developer like Jessica Leshik can defeat any AI hands down. Okay, she didn't even have to raise the second punch. One punch was enough for the AI. And now we are going to have a campfire, and at the campfire we are going to have a discussion about is AI the magic button? Is AI the magic button? I don't know. That the jury is out still, and so it says the discussion is about intelligently incorporating AI technologies into your work. Now that's using intelligence twice. Once intelligently and AI. So I don't understand. So how does the AI work here? It says if you have to use the AI intelligently, what's the point of this AI in the AI? Because it's supposed to be artificial intelligence, isn't it? So you just press the AI and tell AI, like we saw Nick Diego create a carousel. Say, AI, I'm going to sleep, create me a website, and in the morning I will send the bill to the invoice to the client. I don't know. Is that what's going to happen to web technologies? Is that what's going to happen to WordPress? So we are going to, I don't know, this sounds too philosophical. But we have a fantastic panel here, fantastic panel of people at the campfire. And we have Gabriela Laster, we have fantastic Michel Fichet, We have Neil Shivdasani and Noel Talk. Noel Talk is, he goes into the war zones and rescues dogs. My favorite kind of person. Anybody who actually goes and rescues a friend in need are my favorite kind of person. Yes, I do rescue dogs, but I don't get to go into war zones. Means to rescue them. I just rescue them from the neighborhood. Okay. And I have to check with the hall leads. Are the hall leads here? Who are the hall leads? Amit, are you here? I see. Is this today? I just did a guess. Audience, is today a Tuesday? No? Ricky? Could you give me? Somewhere in the world, is it a Tuesday? No? All right. Hari, is it a Tuesday today? No? Because I see taco on the menu. I don't know. Is it? I don't know. Somewhere it's got to be. Okay. All right. So it says there is a taco on the menu, but Amit, is one taco enough for all of us? Oh, I see. Okay, I'm sorry. It says it's Mr. Taco Fardenschott. I'm sure I got that wrong, but Taco is going to moderate this campfire, and we are going to discuss is AI a magic button? Intelligently incorporating AI technologies into your work. Fantastic panel. Once again, fantastic Noel Talk, Michelle Frechet, Gabriela Laster, and Neil Shivdasani. Taco, are you here? Are we waiting for? So everyone, please put your hands together for this fantastic panel. Please come on the stage, whosoever is ready. Noel Talk. Noel, are you here still? Yeah. Neil Shivdasani, Gabriela Laster. The fifth chair. Okay, the fifth chair. You want to come out? Tell us about. Okay. I hope they set up the mic. Okay. You want to please come. Okay. So we are waiting for the fifth chair at the campfire. They put 4 chairs. Once the fifth chair is up, the Taco promises us to start the campfire. And get your marshmallows ready. Or you got anybody wants to roast corn or something? Okay. So let's take a vote till then. How many of you use AI in your workflow as an assistant? AI at
There you are. All right, so we've prepared a couple of questions. The good thing is they don't know from each other what they're going to answer, so we're going to make this into a nice conversation about using AI and what is AI. I'll mostly be hosting the panel, so every time they try to drag me into the conversation, I'll dodge it. Can I start with you, Neil? Can you do a quick introduction on who you are and what do you know about AI?
Yeah, hi, my name is Neil Shivdasani. I'm a product manager at Automatic. I work on AI. My first WordCamp, first time in Manila. I love it. And what do I know about AI? I've been working on like what you would consider recommendations or smart products of some sort for like a decade now. And AI is just what we call it now, but it's all about just making software easier to use for people.
Nice, thank you very much. Gabriella, who are you and what do you know about AI?
Hi, I'm Gabriela Lastra and I'm a product marketing director at Elementor. Sorry about that. This is also my first time at Manila and I'm also having a great time, so thank you for hosting us. What do I know about AI? I am responsible at Elementor for the AI site planner. So I have been working on AI products for about 2 years, I think, 2.5 years, when we first introduced our first AI product. And I'm an avid user, so
All right,
I care a
thank
lot
you.
about AI.
Noel, how about you?
What was the question, the original question? You're so far away.
Yeah, who are you and what do you know about AI?
Okay, my name is Noel. I build WordPress websites. I don't know if anybody else does here, but it's very cool. In terms of AI, I got into it when DALL-E came out with ChatGPT and everything, and I just blew through all my credits. I had COVID, so it was a great great productive use of time. And yeah, I just got into mid-journey after that, started running my own stable diffusion servers, and just went all down the rabbit holes of image generation. So that's been my way into AI, and I've obviously enjoyed all the other aspects of the different models out there, and trying to figure out how can this have an impact in just life and the things I do and how I kind of go about life, yeah.
Nice,
Off to you.
thank you. Michelle.
And I'm Michelle, and I am the Director of Community Engagement for Stellar WP and the Executive Director of Post Status. And my journey with AI is very short because I haven't done a lot with it, but I have very strong opinions about it. So we'll see how those come out.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the most important things to make the panel a little bit engaging is those strong opinions. So we prepared a couple of questions, and as I'm not very good at memorizing them, I'll have my little notes here. So the first thing that I'd like to dive into is, because most of you are working with AI in your product, how did that come to be? Why did you decide to make that shift onto implementing AI in what you're offering? Can I start again with you, Neil?
Yeah, sure. So I mentioned that I've been working in like AI or smart products for a long time. Prior to what we call AI now, people would refer to recommendations and in-app intelligence as like AI essentially. And I think that it was the way that I was able to use my skills to make software easier for other people to use. And so as the conversation around smart products has evolved to generative AI, it's just kind of the natural place that I've been kind of drawn to.
All right. If at any point any one of you want to respond to each other, please do. So don't hesitate, don't be shy. There's not like there's a whole room of people watching. It's just us here. So is that very similar for you? Is it also about making the product easier to use for your users, or is there an added benefit to using AI?
I think it's about making workflows easier for users. So I think I've heard of GPT for years before ChatGPT was even consumer software at this point. And then once ChatGPT was introduced, we were exploring many different ways in which we can make the workflow faster. How can we introduce different AI features, different AI tools to make web creators' job easier, faster, better, smarter? How can we use that as a tool to empower our users?
All right, I see Michelle nodding.
Oh, yeah. So we've incorporated it into some of our products at Stellar WP as well, with the idea that you can spin up your website much faster if you can put some placeholder content in there that's actually about your product and about your service and your website. So when you can do that, you start with something that you can then build from. So our intention is never that you build a website, all of your content is AI generated, all of your images, all of those things, but that you have something to start with and to build from. Because as we know, so many people, when they start to build their own website, they stare at the blank page and they don't know what to write. And so this allows them to give a place to really build from.
All right. I see more nodding. I hate agreement. But Noel, is that, I mean, I see you nod to what's being said around you.
Yeah, there's a lot of great points being made, and I agree with everything that everybody is saying, actually. From our side, from the more, and when I say our, I'm kind of saying enterprise, we've gone through this whole failed sort of AI phase, which was called personalization and DXPs and everything. You know, we got caught up in that too, and it was this thing that was tried to, it was pushed onto enterprise, sold into enterprise, never quite materially worked into like solid outcomes. And now we're finally seeing that opportunity come around, but that word DXP has kind of like faded back out into oblivion, which is, you know, good. But I really like the threads around workflows. I think a lot of it's about AI adjacency. It's not necessarily, oh, we're going to replace things. I do like the idea of kickstarting things with AI, so that's kind of a nudge. So there's just a lot of like great places to explore and do things inside of WordPress, outside of WordPress. I just think there's a lot of great opportunities in all of this.
Yeah, so far we've mostly been looking at outside of WordPress in the individual products. I know, Noel, that you really wanted to talk about AI in WordPress. Maybe this is a nice bridge. Is there a future for AI in core? Should we have something incorporated?
Oh, the can of worms. Yeah.
You had to put down a cup of coffee to start
yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I've written about this. I've spoken a bit about it. I do think there is room for an agentic layer, and I realize that agentic is kind of the buzzword right now. That can morph or evolve into other things as AI, LLMs, and the whole kind of industry keeps moving forward and innovates further. However, at this point in time, my feeling is that the next large opportunity for WordPress is to essentially replicate what we've done with the plugin ecosystem, this third-party ecosystem, but to give every plugin the opportunity to add this AI layer on top of it, which is then living to some kind of standard or blueprint that is then intertwined in one way or another with core then, and these multiple agents can then work together to produce various outcomes. And I'm not necessarily talking about some kind of creative masterpiece, but at a very basic level, interacting with REST APIs, different data points, creating workflows, whatever that may be, I think there's just a huge opportunity there.
Wouldn't that interfere with what you're currently building in your product if things move to core too much?
No, definitely not. I think that we're at an interesting time right now where a lot of the systems and the UX patterns and like the way that these assistants and agents are being built is still being formed. But simultaneously, you know, right now, most consumers think of AI as API calls to paid providers. But we're moving towards a point where all hardware will have neural cores or neural processors on board. And at that point in time, AI becomes truly democratized. And so it becomes very easy and probably an expectation for all software to incorporate AI because it's free, essentially.
I think also the introduction of AI is an evolution. It's not a replacement of anything. So it will evolve within WordPress. It will allow WordPress to grow. It will evolve the ecosystem to grow. It will allow website building to grow. So I don't see that as a negative thing at all.
I think when you talk about whether it's going to replace some of the things that we have in our own products, you're actually hinting at something that's an even a bigger issue I've had conversations with publicly about before, which is how do we decide what goes into core that's already out in the ecosystem? And how is it going to disrupt the balance of people who are making money from those plugins and those themes and things that they've already built? So I think it's a much bigger question than, than just should it be in core or not. I think it's something that we really have to consider the whole community and ecosystem about. That said, there have been so many times when people are like, put their feet in and they're just not going to start using Gutenberg or the block editor and things like that. And I think that at some point in time, we take a step back and say, is this for the greater good? Can this help us all as we move forward? And if the answer is yes, then we figure out a way to incorporate it not only into core, but that the ecosystem builds up around it.
I like, in this case, the agreement there, which is unusual for me. So, if we look at AI, we just had a speed build where Nick Diego was using AI to build a plugin that was almost perfect, almost. But is there, I mean, we're talking about AI as helping our workflow, helping people do stuff. Out there in the world, there's also a lot of people who are afraid that AI will take their jobs, will kill creativity. Is that something that you worry for when you're looking at the AI implementation in your products, that it might negatively affect the people who are currently doing the stuff that the AI now takes over? Gabriella, can I start with you?
Sure. I'm not worried. I think that it allows us to be a lot more creative if we know how to use it properly. I think that if we're not using it, we're spending a lot of time working on redundant tasks or doing things that prevent us from being able to focus on the more creative sides of things. So I don't think it hurts creativity at all.
I saw Noel ready to jump in already.
I'm always ready. So I think it's analogous somewhat to like film camera to digital camera, and how you had that whole wave then, and all the film photographers were like, "This is horrible. It's breaking the industry. These people don't know how to take quality photos, and they're devaluing the market by bringing the prices down." And that's kind of what AI is. And you have a lot of people just building stuff with like shoddy code, but the outcome works. So there's just a rebalancing, and people, I think, need to get to terms with these things, because there's this competitive moat you might have in your sector. Let's say film photography just gets blown up from one day to the next through a new technology. Or you have your taxi medallions in New York, and all of a sudden Uber comes in and destroys the whole thing. So there's always that risk, and chances are nobody's going to protect that other side. So yeah, evolve or die, I guess.
I think too that it's a tool, right? So AI is a tool. If you pick up a hammer and you try to pound a nail with the other side of it, you're not going to be very successful in building a house. So you have to learn how to use the tool to have an effective outcome. And so, the whole saying I grew up with is garbage in, garbage out. The inputs that you put into AI are going to be what causes good things to come out or trash to come out, right? So we really need to learn to use the tools. It's not just like everybody has AI and everything is going to be awesome, because just like any tool, the more you use it and craft it and effective use of it, the better the outcome is going to be, the better your workflows are going to be, the better the output for writing, the better the output for code, all of those things.
Yeah, I think something that we sometimes lose track of as people in the industry is that most people who need websites are not website people. For example, if someone has like a photography blog, they probably care more about photography than they do about blogging. And WordPress in the community is a tool for those people to get onto the web and to publish and to build communities and to share their thoughts. And the more people that do that, and the easier it is, the better it is for the web, the better it is for WordPress. But they're always going to need that community and the tooling as a layer to help them accomplish their goals, which is, again, usually not blogging. It's the thing that they're passionate about: photography, travel, etc.
Yeah, but so back in the day, they would turn to someone to help them build the site for them so that they could upload their photos. And now they can do it themselves. So that takes out that middleman, basically.
I think I totally understand that concern. I think that there will always be a desire and even like a need for like truly bespoke, high-touch relationships with people building websites. And the more people there are that want to be on the web and get on the web, the more demand there will be for people who facilitate that process.
I'd like to add to that that when Elementor was first introduced, I think there were a lot of web creators who were concerned that you have a drag and drop builder, this is very easy, you're not going to need web creators anymore. But in reality, what happened is that you got a lot more web creators. You had a lot more people entering this industry. So I think the same thing can happen with AI. Yes, there are always going to be people who can then build their websites on their own. These tools are available today within WordPress, outside of WordPress. I don't think that necessarily takes away from a web creator. You're going to need that bespoke websites. You're going to need the customization that not everyone's going to be able to achieve. And not everyone's going to know how to do that with AI also, because garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry, just a quick note. Like, I really appreciated what Nick was doing earlier. I thought that was awesome. One thing that was really crucial about that is that you still have to speak the language in order to make that work. And again, photographers, food journalists, that's not the language they speak.
Yeah, so you're not all out of a job. I mean, that's good to know. So now that we agree that we still need that human aspect, we still need the people who know what they're talking about. You said it's a professional that can speak the language to use the AI to create something new, create something better, and probably create it faster. How do you already see AI being used in your own workplaces? We saw Nick do the cursor demo basically before. Is there a lot of tooling that's already being used at Stellar, for example?
Yeah, so like in marketing, it's great to use AI and set up personas. It's great to have ideas of ways to market to different groups because you've set up ways to actually interact and figure out what works and doesn't before you actually do it to your public. And there's lots of ways that we incorporate it just in, like, for example, I might write an article for one of our blogs, and I love it, but I can't think of a title. ChatGPT, what's a good title for something about XYZ? And then maybe I'll use it, maybe I won't, maybe I'll use part of A and part of B, but it's just one of those things that kind of spurs you a little bit further and assists you, again, a tool, as opposed to writing everything for you. I have written an entire article using ChatGPT for post status with a description at the top saying, hey, ChatGPT wrote this for me to see if I could do it. Nobody had an opinion on it because it was like, okay, that's kind of boring. Well, yeah, it was boring. It wasn't me writing, right? It wasn't my voice. But if you set up things in your voice and you really train it well, then it can be the tool that you want it to be to help move things forward. Is it going to replace our writers for all of our blogs? No, of course not. Is it going to assist them to be better writers if they lean into it the right way that they want to? Some people don't want to use it at all, and that's fine because we like the way they write. But if you have somebody doing something that's not their bailiwick, so to speak, or their area of expertise, having those tools there to start and work from is something that I think is really important. And so we do allow those things to be used at Stellar because it's important that people have the tools to make them successful.
Nice. And is that similar for you? Is there a lot of AI use producing your product already?
I definitely, at Automatic, we're really excited about AI, both for our users and for our coworkers and employees. I think a really impressive use case that I've seen recently is designers who no longer use Figma, but instead build functional prototypes out of code. And this doesn't replace software engineers. It actually strengthens the connection between designers and software engineers by bridging the gap and giving them a common language. And I've had people tell me that something that used to take them days, they can now build a functional prototype that you can feel in 30 minutes.
I definitely call that an improvement, yeah. Is that similar at Elementor? Is it also heavily used already?
we're using it in a lot of different departments in different ways. We're using it in marketing to create content. We're using it in customer experience to help agents find answers to some of the questions faster. We're using it in code. Obviously, we're using Cursor. We're using it in our products. But one use case that I found also very helpful recently is sometimes we'll get a lot of feedback from users. We send out surveys. We'd want to learn about what users need. And sometimes you'll get 6,000, 7,000 different responses. So how do you read through 6,000, 7,000 responses? When I started working at Elementor back in 2021, we had to read it manually. So we had each person on our team read through 300 different responses to try and get a picture. Now I can feed that all into an AI and have it cluster into topics for me and understand if there's a trend, if there is something. I can gain a lot of valuable insights very, very quickly.
Nice. That sounds really good. Do you then sometimes go back and verify that what you got out was actually what customers said?
100%. And when I do that, I also ask for it to give me snapshots. So tell me on what row you found this example on, and I'll go and I'll check.
Nice.
Trust but verify.
Well, yeah, for sure, for sure. And I mean, there's also a luxury problem because getting 6,000 responses to a survey is not something that a lot of users will do, but that's probably the benefit that you have with the skill at Elementor. So that's pretty awesome use, yeah. Let me look at the next question because we talked about in our preparation about free and open source software, about WordPress. Miriam had a really nice presentation on GPL and the difference between free and open source software this morning. So we already touched a little bit on including AI in WordPress, creating that base layer. But would it make sense, given that a significant part of the AI models is also open source, to sort of find a model that would be trained specifically for WordPress sites? Is that realistic? Is there a WordPress speed build AI that we should train together?
We actually spoke about this at some point, I think almost a year ago, a human-made. By the way, we're called human-made, so we don't use any AI whatsoever, obviously. Like it's against our company name. But I think the idea back then was already that the models were so good that you didn't even need to fine-tune it per se. I think you could potentially like fine-tune it on like past GitHub repos and like issues you've had with clients and how you've solved them and everything. Obviously, you need consent and other things, but potentially there's a way there. I don't think there's a definite answer from my side, at least, from our business. We're open to exploring it in the future, obviously, but no definite answer. I mean, we're quite happy with how powerful the models are becoming every month, every day. That we like, why even try to catch up with the next model?
Yeah, I think it's something that we've explored and talked about at Automatic, and I think we're fortunate that WordPress has such a long history and is so well documented that even like a standard off-the-shelf model is pretty well versed in WordPress. But you know, as Michelle mentioned earlier, AI is a tool, and like it's only valuable if it helps you achieve a goal. Thus far, we've primarily been able to achieve our goals with AI without thinking about fine-tuning.
All right. And so if we look at, for example, ChatGPT being one of the, I think, most popular AI models at the moment, that is definitely not open sourced. Would there be a reason not to use it because you're in the WordPress ecosystem and are open source advocates?
Use the right tool for what you need. So we're open source, but we also pay for services. We pay for tools. We buy subscriptions. We use other people's plugins. So paying for the tools that you need to accomplish the job is not something that we're opposed to doing.
There are different models for different purposes. I'll use ChatGPT for strategizing. I'll use Claude for copy. I think that having all these models is also a competition. It'll allow other AI LLMs to create open source models. I think I agree. You should choose the right tool for the job, whatever it is.
I mean, LLMs are a bit like toothpaste at the moment. You walk into a grocery store and you just pick out whichever one, right? Like, there's not that big of a difference. It's the wrappers around that make a lot more sense. So something like on the workflow side, I love using N8N, and that's not something that's just going to fall away tomorrow and be replaced by something else. I mean, maybe. On the image generation side, that's Comfy UI, which is like a similar kind of workflow builder. So these wrappers and these tools that go around and get that exponential outcome from the LLM, that's amazing. Like those tools is where, okay, I'm more invested. But the LLM, I'm at least using 5 or 6. Just for fun, like it's just part of it. Like Perplexity for my Google searches, I use Claude Opus to write. I use Claude Sonnet to generate text through APIs from Telegram messages. The list keeps going, right? Like it's dime a dozen.
All right. So right now, and we've already touched on that you all have some version of AI incorporated. Are you falling behind as a company if you do not have any AI solution, either built in or an offer for your customers? Is it a necessity or is it a hype? Neil?
Yeah, I'm going to repeat something that I think everyone on the stage has said at this point, which it's just about if it helps you achieve your goals or not. That being said, to put it differently, if you adopt AI because you want to adopt AI, like if adopting AI is your goal, you might be setting yourself up for failure because there's not a real measure of success there. Similarly, if you don't adopt AI simply because you don't want to adopt AI, you're also potentially setting yourself up for failure. You have a problem you're trying to solve, and AI is a tool that can maybe help you solve it, and it's worth evaluating.
He stole my answer.
Yeah, she told me.
All right, yeah, so...
Can I jump in for a second and say,
Sure.
Besides in our products, there are other ways that we use AI as a company, right? So we have people who maybe writing is not their strong point, but they have to send emails. So I know somebody in our accounts office who goes to ChatGPT and say, how can I deny a refund in a kinder, gentler way? And they get a better outcome so that when they have to tell somebody you're way outside of the refund window, they're able to say it in a way that doesn't sound as harsh. And so it makes our customer success department, it makes our support department stronger because they have more empathy when they are able to use the tools that can help them write that way. So there's way more areas than just in our code that we can use and just in our building and our products to use ChatGPT and other AI to be able to do our jobs.
You spoke a bit about falling behind, like as a kind of word, and I feel like that's the sort of FOMO of, hey, all this AI is happening. What are we doing? And I feel like the technology is so far now that, like your own creativity is like the limiter. It's not the technology anymore. Even when I first installed N8N and I could create anything I wanted in the world, I was stuck. I was like, what do I build first, right? And you realize that it's actually a fair amount of work and thought to put into putting together more complex workflows or multi-step flows that are really AI driven and then replace parts of your life, let's say, than just, hey, help me SEOify this text or give me headlines or something, right? Like those are table stakes at this point, but all this other stuff that is really the game changer in terms of value for business, and where I think there's a lot of hope to find savings in the future and operational efficiency, is blocked by humans right now. Like that is the block. It's not GPU, it's not anything else, it's not the models. So I think everybody's at a similar point, and if you feel like you're somehow behind, you're not, but you should get on top of it.
Yeah, so if you're not using AI yet, definitely start looking into it, but to solve a problem and not just to use AI. That's basically what I hear you say together. Yeah, so I'm going to look at the audience for a little bit. Who is using AI in their products and workflows already? Do a raise of hands. That's quite a few, but nowhere near everyone, so might be an opportunity for you to take a look there. I want to go into a little bit of a different side of AI. Based off of a conversation that I had earlier today, let's imagine that we live in a world where we don't have sort of static websites anymore, but every time that you go to a website, the content will be generated specifically for you based on your personality and what it knows about you that you would want to hear from the company in your voice. Is that a future that you see as a good idea, or is that something that you worry about? Gabriella, can I start with you?
The question reminds me a lot about advertising. So if you go to social platforms, a lot of times these social platforms, they learn about you. They know what type of ads to present to you. And there are people who love it. There are people who hate it. There are people who are very careful and they want to keep their privacy, so they don't like it when all of a sudden you're talking about a vacation and you get recommendations for different hotels on Booking. Personally, I do enjoy it. I think it makes my life a lot easier because I know that if I'm looking into something specific, it makes it easier for me to find the content that I'm interested in, whatever it is. But I think people will we'll have mixed feelings towards it.
Michelle, you want to respond to that?
I think I'm going to use a developer answer and say it depends. Because it really does depend, right? It depends on how it's being used. It depends on, I think too, so I've been thinking a lot as we've been talking that AI stands for artificial intelligence, right? But it didn't create itself. How artificial is it really? It's created by people. And so it's what we create for others to be able to use. And yes, everybody feeds into it. It isn't one person that decides what the answers are. But it's used in a way, if it's not nefarious, right, that does things like makes time easier. We search for things. We use things that have all these algorithms into it. And if we're using it properly, it could really be time-saving, and it could really, kind of be more efficient. But I think that there's always the opportunity for people to use it in a poor way.
I'm absolutely on board for hyper-personalized everything, and I'm pretty sure that's coming quite soon. So even if Perplexity adds the ability for that, I'm super happy, because if I have to read a blog post or a long text, I'm out. My love language is bullet points. So like, sign me up for the little stuff, the details, like make it punchy, give me that. Even DeepSeek is a bit like very bullet pointy in its responses. I'm like, great. So yeah, absolutely, like I'm in. Like there's no question about that. And I think we already see a high degree of personalization in the market. I think Nielsen and other media companies have run surveys in the past, and there's pretty high compliance from people saying, hey, I give consent and all that kind of good stuff. So I absolutely see that business model going forward for some of these voice-driven, consumer-facing LLM apps like Perplexity and ChatGPT.
Yeah, what you described to me doesn't actually sound that different from the internet right now. Like if you go to most social media, which is where a lot of people consume the internet, it is customized. What I think AI, I definitely think it's going to change the way we interact with content online. I don't think anybody really knows exactly what that's going to look like, but I think at the very least AI offers a level of flexibility where people can engage with the content in the way that they want to. So they can get summaries, they can go into more detail, they can ask for more questions. But yeah, I don't know. That sounds like an improvement to me.
So I find that interesting because it worries the hell out of me. And I'll explain why. Right now, if I want to get the news, I have a choice between 10 different news websites that all have their own angle. If I, to use an American example, go to Fox News, it will definitely be very different from reading The Guardian from the UK. I'm afraid that if all of these newspapers start sort of on the fly generating their news, is that there's no way for me to burst out of my own bubble anymore and get a new view on the world. Even though I might disagree with the Fox News approach to the world, it can be interesting to sort of challenge my own beliefs. But if everything's adapted to my beliefs, then how do we learn from each other? How do you learn that there's other perspectives?
2 words: incognito browser.
I mean, I think you just described a scenario in which you intentionally make a choice to burst out of your bubble. And I don't think that's going to go anywhere. I think people can always get new information, information from different types of sources, regardless of what the channel is. You know, if it's conversational, if it's different news websites. I don't think that this changes that necessarily.
I want to add to that. As we were talking before you brought your opinion, I was going to play devil's advocate for a minute and say, I think that it can be a little bit scary if we are only getting our point of view, if everything is becoming personalized to whatever it is that we think today. It can be biased. It can, at some point, eventually also limit creativity because you're not exposed to a lot of different opinions and topics. But I wonder if there are also ways where that can be, where maybe not, depends on the format it's being consumed, but maybe you're being presented with different opinions, answers at the same time.
I mean, aren't we already getting like our viewpoint ready? Like my whole TikTok is just dogs and pandas doing silly things. Like I don't get anything else. Like I am in that chamber now. Like I can't get out of it. Aren't we all there?
Well, yes, on social media, but no on news sites, I would say. So, and that's where, for me, there's a difference, where I want the news to be as objective, because that's already in air quotes, but as objective as possible, so that I see what's happening, and not just that there's more pandas born in
But we
every
already
place.
do that by choosing which news site we visit, right? So
If
we have that
anything,
option.
oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I just said we have the option, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anything, I think AI enables a perhaps more advanced level of like unbiasing of news by being able to aggregate news sources and give you multiple perspectives through one channel. And there are products that do that now, like Ground News is a popular one. You know, we've talked on this panel about how AI is something that facilitates workflows. To the extent that there's a workflow for collecting varying viewpoints, that can become an AI app that is perhaps the most consumable way to get multiple perspectives.
Yeah, and well, at the very least, then Noel can get his beloved bullet points. All right. I'm looking at our timekeeper, where we're at, because we had a little bit of a rocky start. What we also briefly touched on when we were preparing for this panel was DeepSeek. You just named it as well, Noel. That sort of came out of nowhere for most of the world, at least ask NVIDIA. Are we going to see more of those sort of disruptive models appear in the near future?
What kind of bubbles? Sorry? You said what kind of bubbles?
More the disruptive models, AI models.
Oh, models, sorry.
Yeah.
Now, okay.
I mean, I think there's a disruptive model of some sort every other month at this point. Whether more of them will be, I mean, I'm sure more of them will be disruptive due to their open source nature, but I think that we're just in a state of constant disruption right now.
Just fully commoditized. Like okay, they have an edge for like 3 weeks, and then the other people figure it out, or they copy each other, or do something else. Like it's how you use that software. It's like, where is that getting plugged in, and how are you using that? Like that's the important part. Again, like I like using N8N, and I've switched out models there, but I haven't switched out N8N itself. So I'm actually showing more loyalty to a much simpler piece of software in terms of how much it costs to build one and the other.
And I mean, you say you're sort of invested in a single model, or you're switching?
I'm always switching. Yeah.
Always switching. And is that true for all of you? We already talked about picking the right tool for the right job, but Is it something that you easily switch around, or you feel like I'm now used to the way that Claude does things for this specific task? I'm going to stick with it.
Yeah, I actually think, so Noel, you're describing kind of like personal use, right?
Yes.
I think that like from a product perspective and in a software company, it's almost a distraction to worry about what's happening every week, because it's often the energy that it takes to investigate that will probably not net like a positive return. But as these things like continue to bake and like establish themselves and like the results that they get, yeah, it's absolutely worth evaluating new things. But I wouldn't drop what we're doing to evaluate a new approach or model every week, which is the rate at which they come out.
Fair, yeah.
I feel like I need to test every new model. It took me a long time. In the beginning, it was difficult for me, and when you try new different products, it can be a little bit difficult to scan through the results you get, even because they're presented differently. What we've learned also at Elementor is that we work with a number of different vendors, and sometimes we'll test different vendors for the results they give, and we can see that certain requests, activities, consistently do better with one model over the other, so we're constantly switching them up depending on what gives a better answer for a specific need. So I feel like I don't have a choice. I feel like I have to. Otherwise, I do feel like I will be left behind, or I won't be as accomplished or work fast enough, as fast as I could.
I mean, we work in an industry that's constantly evolving. So if we weren't continuing to evaluate tools that also constantly evolve, that's a bit of a disconnect for me anyway.
All right. Another look at our timekeeper. Where are we at? 10 more minutes? 18 more minutes. That's nice. Okay, so then we're completely disrupting the schedule today. I like that. All right, so we've talked about using AI in products. We've talked about using AI in our open source project in WordPress. I'm curious if you have, without spoiling any company secrets, if there's anything on your mind that you would like to see happen with AI in our ecosystem in the next 6 to 12 months, which I understand is a very long time in the current speed of development. But is there anything specific that you're really looking forward to? And I'll start with Michelle.
I have friends that have developed plugins very quickly using AI because so much of the coding has already been introduced there, and they're able to do that. We also have, just like we have agencies and we have enterprise and then we have individual users who decide to start their own website, I think that it could be used simply like that as well, right? So I think that there's a possibility for us to use it at different scales and be able to accomplish what we need to. Going right back to if it's the right tool, to use the right tool. So.
Noel, I see you smile. I like that.
Yeah, no. I mean, Michelle's got a great point. We've come out with a lot of point features on different plugins, and we're demoing cool little snazzy things. And when we talk about ecosystem, then the natural thing is like, what is the ecosystem play? What's the larger thing that elevates, like rises all tides, and elevates the entire game and almost like shifts up the game for WordPress? And I think that's very interesting. I don't think there's even what I proposed before in terms of like this agentic ecosystem, I don't think that's like the final state or any kind of draft state per se. I just think that's a way to go. So for 6 months even, we can be talking a lot about discovery, because trying to be a first mover in this space now is going to cost a lot of money in R&D and really screw us up. So maybe there's a pace that follows the industry, but then also keeps up that discussion. So if anything, I would like to see a bit of a working group around that, and to then see those ecosystem plays come to life, or ideas. Maybe there's one underlying kind of big idea, and maybe there's a sub ideas there. But really just getting in the discovery of that as a community.
Yeah, I've mentioned this a few times, but I'm all about outcomes over outputs. And to me, like the goal is to lower the barrier of entry for the open web so that more people can have like their own home on the web. And you know, in terms of how that manifests, you know, there's dozens of ways and it's changing constantly, but I think that this will grow the open web and grow the WordPress community by making it easier to participate.
I think it would be exciting to see a lot more adoption of AI, a lot less fear towards it. It's hard for me to pinpoint something specific that I would want to see technological-wise, but I think we can use a lot of integrations that already exist. We don't need to build things from scratch. It doesn't need to be very expensive. We can take inspiration from other industries and see how we can integrate other tools into the WordPress ecosystem.
Can I ask a question of my fellow panelists?
Sure.
Do you think that there should be some kind of industry governance or guidelines into how we use AI as we move forward?
What would you want those guidelines to accomplish?
I don't even know that I want them. I'm asking what you think.
I think that AI is moving very quickly, and so it's hard to pin down how it should work and how it should operate. And it's also important to try not to slow things down because we want it to work a specific way. And so, you know, maybe someday, but I don't necessarily think that would be useful right now.
I think we want to hope that the people building different AI capabilities are ethical and moral and try to avoid bias as much as possible. I don't see any regulation being set in place so quickly. I don't even think we know how it's going to evolve, I agree. So I think ethics and morals are important.
And I agree with Gabby here, and I think we'll also see, we'll have to align to certain guidelines coming out, and I'm assuming Europe will more or less always be the highest standard in that regard, and maybe a select few countries also, and then we will probably want to abide by those things, those rules, whatever it may be, so I'm all on board for that.
Yeah, and I also think that it's already hard to see what the current legislation, how far it is behind to what we can do on the web. I mean, we had the European cookie law a couple of years ago, which led to a lot of awful banners, but didn't really solve a problem. And I think that, yes, at some point there will be, and hopefully it will go towards the ethical rules and hopefully something inclusion-based. But that's going to take quite a while before the lawmakers have caught up with what's happening in the development of AI at this pace that we're seeing now. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, will take a while. I do have a little hook on what you just said, Gabriella, is to lessen the fear of AI. And that immediately gets me thinking about my parents and my in-laws who are not digital natives, as I would call them, and that's quite the understatement. Sorry if you're watching. Is there a generational difference that we need to solve short term to get the people who are not into our field comfortable with AI, or is this let that generation go and we'll focus on the future and the kids will understand because they're so used to using technology?
I think it's part of our responsibility to make AI tools and capabilities more accessible. So a way we can do that is how do we make AI capabilities feel native? How do we make it feel contextual to what I'm doing at this exact moment in time? I don't think it's appropriate to give up on a generation because they're not as tech savvy. You have different organizations that are helping older people with how to use a phone or the internet or things like that. I think you would have to do the same with AI at some point. But as product creators, we can help bridge that gap.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm making assumptions here, but it's quite often the case that people don't adopt new technologies because it's kind of confusing and hard to understand this new way of working. AI is entirely bucks that trend in that it's entirely conversational for the most part, and there's so much you can do just by communicating the way you already communicate. And so I actually don't think it will be difficult for anyone to adopt this. I think it just is a function of when does it solve a problem that they have. And like when do they realize that it solves a problem that they have.
My mother is 76, and when I told her what I was going to be on a panel about, she said, is there any way that I can make Facebook stop telling me what to post? So I think there is some level of, not necessarily excluding, but she wants to find the toggle that says, how do I turn this off? I just want to post a recipe or, whatever she wants to write about. And so I think we have to be careful with how we approach some certain populations of people who may or may not feel comfortable with the technology and also may feel they're being spied on and all of these things that come along with older generations. I mean, I'm an older generation, right? But I'm in tech, so it's a little bit different for me. But for some people, it's a very scary thing.
Yeah, that's why I specifically used the not digital natives, because that includes more than people of a certain age, but it's basically everyone who didn't grow up with technology, with that phone in hand. The conversation I had with my kids talking about a CD, they had no idea what a CD was, made me feel old. But to them, a screen that you cannot use as a touch screen is strange. Why would you have that?
But also they are, like my mother, for example, she was a young adult in the 60s and 70s, and she sees things like 2001, A Space Odyssey, that HAL won't open the pod bay doors, and that AI is becoming sentient. It's going to make decisions for us. And in some respects, she's right, because doctors are leaning into looking for diagnoses and things like that using AI. And so I understand her fear because of her history. And so I think that we just have to have a careful approach with how we help people understand how to use it.
And do you think that in a few years, to lean into that HAL example, that in a few years we'll have 4 computers sitting in a chair here talking about how to get rid of the human race?
I would watch that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I don't think it's a realistic scenario at this point, but yeah. We have a few more minutes, 5 more minutes. So what I would like to do is get sort of a final statement from all of you on this is what you should do with AI, shouldn't do with AI, this is what you should lean into or check out in the products that you're building and give feedback on. I mean, there's a little bit room for promotion, of course. But yeah, just curious on sort of your final send-off message to our audience here and at home. I started with you all the time, so now I'm going to start with Michelle.
I want to lean into what Gabby said about being ethical and moral about how we use it, because the more we use the AI, we're training it. So we're teaching, things how it works, and that's using all of that information. So what you put in, what you put out, garbage in, garbage out, all of that. But also think about it ethically and morally as you're using it. I think it's an amazing tool, and I think that we're all going to be for the better because of it in the end.
Thank you. Noel.
I'm going to come back to the agentic AI ecosystem play, and I think that's the biggest opportunity we have ahead of us in this community. I think it's an evolution of the REST API. The REST API allows you to have various functions or features communicate with each other, websites, whatever, and an agentic sort of or network or ecosystem then transforms that into something way more intelligent. It takes a phone line and turns it into fiber for just very high throughput, high flow intelligence across an entire network, which could really change the way that WordPress works. So I'm very interested in that big play. So yeah, that's where my mind's at.
I would say I think everyone should keep adopting AI. I think everyone should try exploring it, even if sometimes you're not getting the results you want, even if you're not building the tool that you're happy with necessarily. I'll be promotional for a second. We built the AI Copilot about a year ago, and that led us to building the site planner, which was is so far a huge success. Our users are loving it. The feedback's amazing. But it came from an experiment that didn't work as well as we would have wanted to in the beginning. I think that if all of us are using it, if different products are introducing new AI capabilities, and that can really take the WordPress ecosystem way forward.
Yeah, I think everything that everyone has said is just like spot on. The thing that comes to mind for me is that it's really valuable to just keep an open mind and to understand how this can help you solve your problems. Because if you don't keep an open mind, that's when you might get left behind.
All right. I can imagine that after hearing all your wisdom today, people would want to reach out to you, follow you on social media. What's the best place for them to find you, to interact with you, besides, of course, here at WordCamp Asia? Neil, where do they find you?
Neil, Neel.sh is my website. It has links to all my social, or just come say hi.
The easiest way to find me would be on LinkedIn right now, so that would be Gabriella Laster.
If you want to see pictures of cute dogs, then it's Instagram, Noel Talk. If you want to see pictures of cute dogs, then it's LinkedIn, Noel Talk.
Nice.
And mine is meetmichelle.online.
All right. And if you want to find me, then either go to LinkedIn, Taco Verdo, or Twitter, where I'm still active for now. All right. I want to thank you very, very much for being here today on the panel, sharing your wisdoms, and let's see where we're at in the year.
Thanks,
Thank
Taco.
you for moderating.
Thank you very much. Please be on the podium. We got something to give you. So I forgot to introduce Taco in the beginning because I got confused. You know, if we had Taco for menu or something. Taco is a person who left Yoast to join Yoast. That completely makes sense. Totally makes sense. And it was a fantastic panel. We have great minds on the stage here, all five. And it was really interesting to listen to them and talk about it. So when it's AI, the large language models get undue attention. You know, when we're talking about AI, everybody mainly talks about GPTs, LLMs. But then, as one philosopher, Noam Chomsky, says, you know, the difference between children and the AI would be, children don't say, I want a candy because they want to say, I want a candy. They say, I want a candy because they actually want a candy. So as Neil pointed it out, we don't use AI because you want to use AI. Use AI because you have a problem and AI could use. And that's great. We heard about AI as an assistant, AI as a tool, AI as a workflow manager, and different things. Fantastic views. Thank you very much. And yes. Hello, hello, hello. 2 minutes, okay? I will start in 2 minutes, okay. Hello, welcome to the next session. We'll be starting in 2-3 minutes. And this is an important session. We have an invited guest, Honorable Deputy Minister Attorney Josel Batapasige. And we'll be starting in 3 minutes. She'll be talking about diversity in tech. This is a very important topic, not only for Manila and Philippines, but is for the whole world. And Attorney Josel Batapasige, very popular person in whole of Philippines. She's done a lot of work for bringing Philippines to the forefronts of technology, bringing Philippines to the forefront of digital age, and guiding the whole generation of youth into the digital age. And she's going to talk about this very important topic. So in 2-3 minutes, we'll wait for a few more people, and as the stage is set up, we will start. Okay, good afternoon once again. Hello, is the mic working? Yes? Okay. So, kamusta? And good afternoon. Welcome to this session at 3:30. We have this very important session, Diversity in Tech, and we have our invited guest, Attorney Josel Batapasige, Deputy Minister for Digital Technologies. And so she is going to talk, she Attorney Josel Batapasige is an attorney, that means a lawyer by training. She also is a professor and at the same time deputy minister. And she's very popular in Philippines for her work in bringing Philippines and the young generation to the forefront of digital age. In this session, she'll be highlighting the current stage of diversity in the tech, barriers faced by underrepresented groups, and the challenges in different areas. She'll be dwelling on the benefits of diversity, how team performance improves with diversity, and she'll be suggesting some strategies for improving the diversity in tech. So, Ati Joshi, as they affectionately call her, she is, she runs her own WordPress websites. And this is not her first WordCamp she's attending. She has attended a WordCamp in Iloilo 7 years back, where she spoke about digital age, but today she's invited at this WordCamp Asia stage, and this is our honor. Ati Joshi, we are waiting for you. Thank you very much. Marima Salamat.
Thank you so much, Yogesh. Thank you for that generous introduction. Magandang hapon sa lahat. It's how we say it in Filipino. That's good afternoon for everyone. You know, this is the best part of the day to be speaking, right after lunch. And, you know, this is the time when you have to grab your coffee, and I hope you're holding one, or maybe water. I'm told that this is also live streamed, so although we have a physical audience here, there are people who are watching us live. So, hello everyone from the Philippines. First of all, I would like to thank WordCamp Asia and the organizers of WordCamp Asia 2025. Can we give them a round of applause? Thank you so much for bringing WordCamp Asia to the Philippines. I know there are a lot of activities simultaneously happening. I have to run from the ground floor up to here because I almost lost my way in the exhibitions floor. But I want to go back tomorrow to just do exhibitions, visit the exhibitions floor the whole day. All right, so I am asked today to provide something about what the government is doing in terms of utilizing digital solutions to bring about digital inclusion. There are so many facets of digital. There's so many things happening and going on in the digital age. I have to admit, I am a digital migrant. I am not a digital native. I'm not born into digital. I'm born in a generation where we have to use typewriters and wired telephones, okay, where there's a party line. And today, as a Gen Xers, as a Gen X public servant, I feel so grateful that we have these technologies. In the past, when I was a teenager, it would take around 30 days for me to receive a love letter. Now, it would take around 3 seconds. So that's something really, that's amazing. So, my topic today is how digital fosters and drives inclusion. We always think of digital as driving our business. We always think of digital as driving, the boring stuff that we do in work. But there's another aspect to digital, and that's bringing the people who have no voices in the past in the table where they are empowered, to leverage on technologies. And that's what I want to spend my 30 minutes or so here discussing with you 3 projects at the Department of Information and Communications Technology that's very close to my heart. Not only because I am the Deputy Minister for the Department of Information and Communications Technology. In our word, it's called Undersecretary, but also because I am a big believer of digital inclusion. Before we dive into the topic, I'd like to just share with you our mandate. Why is there a Department of Information and Communications Technology? I'll be telling you a lot of stories. 20 years ago, I was out there as a stakeholder clamoring for a dedicated department for information and communications technologies. Because I was looking at India, I was looking at other countries, I was looking at the ASEAN, and everyone has a dedicated department for information and communications technologies, and the Philippines did not have one. It was simply just the office of the president that's doing a lot of stuff under the Commission on ICT. So lo and behold, in 2016, that's not really very far, we finally have a Department for Information and Communications Technology. The law that created us is Republic Act 10844, and we have these 4 important mandates. First, policy and planning. For 4 days, today is the last day, we together, or myself, together with several public officials, are having a special training on AI governance and policy making somewhere in a hotel near the airport. I told them I will sit through the whole 4 days, except that on the 4th day, I will cut classes to be here in WordCamp Asia. But I have to say that AI governance and policy is an important work of government. And that's the work of the ICT. So you see, our first mandate is policy and planning. We do a lot of policies around ICTs. We do a lot of programs in e-government and also in ICT education together with other departments. Of course, we are most popularly known, and for this, please do not, hold me accountable for poor internet here in PICC, but we are also in charge of improved public access. Our goal is to ensure that we have good connectivity around the country, not only in Metro Manila, and there is a special law mandating the DICT to provide free Wi-Fi access to public schools and public places. And today, I'm proud to say that when Secretary Ivan Jan Uy, our secretary, took over together with our team 2 years ago, there were only around 2,000 Wi-Fi sites. Today, there's almost 15,000 Wi-Fi sites across the whole country, as far as Batanes and the far-flung areas are concerned. The next mandate is resource sharing and capacity building. It's more about industry development. And of course, consumer protection and industry development, IT BPM, freelancing, startup innovation, all of these things are under our plate. And 2 more mandates included by the RRR, by the IRR. We also handle cybersecurity, and also the best thing and closest to my heart is countryside development. Kay ako bala is Ilongga. No, hindi ako taga Manila, taga Bacolod ako. You hear that? That's my dialect. So, for 20 years as a digital advocate, my work is helping cities outside of Metro Manila attract jobs and investments so that these jobs and opportunities also go outside of Metro Manila, where it's needed the most. You can just imagine, here in Metro Manila, the poverty incidence is 6%. But somewhere in Mindanao, in Marawi, and in other parts, the poverty incidence is 70%. I, as a public official, I cannot sleep every night thinking that there are provinces outside of Metro Manila that are experiencing too much poverty. So that's why countryside development is very close to my heart. All right, moving forward, these are the programs that I have introduced at the DICT when I was appointed as Undersecretary. This is basically focused on countryside development. First, we have the regional ICT summits, which is across all regions. We have 18 regions today. Of course, one is a new region, the Negros Island region, where I come from. The Digital Careers Expo, we bring knowledge about digital careers in very far-flung communities. Maybe one of these days you could do WordCamp Boracay, you know? It's a good location. Digital Communities Plus is building cities and provinces for ICT jobs. D4D is about data for development. And my favorite is number 5, which I will talk more about, the Digital Innovation for Women Advancement and the Generation Connect Philippines. These are our digital inclusion program. The acronym is DIRECT, directly impacting our countryside. All right, so first, RISE-PH. RISE-PH is short for Regional ICT Summits and Exhibitions. Last year, you cannot believe it, I was practically living in a suitcase. I flew to all these cities and provinces in the Philippines from Region 1 down to the BARM region. And this is what we did with all our stakeholders. We tried to map out what are the challenges in terms of ICT opportunities in these regions. And so the whole year, we gathered the insights of our stakeholders. And so today, this is the first time you're hearing this. I still need to present this to some stakeholders. But you will see that the result of this regional ICT consultation yielded so many insights. These are the people which we consulted. It was an event like this, but we had a lot of consultations within the event. And so I'd like to share with you that one of the most important challenge in this region is really workforce competency. Why are the jobs not going to the regions and staying here in Manila? Because we need to improve the workforce competency of the other regions. My eyesight is so poor, but there are other things that are challenges, infrastructure, you have and a lot of other things here I need to see here. High turnover rates, funding concern, and of course, infrastructure limitations. What else? To deep dive, for talent development, we believe that there are not enough trainings and workshops happening in the countryside, in the different regions. I guess this is also a good thing. I'm talking to a group of professionals that know web development, WordPress, and everything. You might want to also help the countryside, because there's a lot of need for training outside of Metro Manila, things that are happening exactly like this. Effectiveness of this training are not also like 100%. So there's already not enough access to trainings, and the quality of trainings need to be improved. All right, so in terms of business environment, I'm happy to share that 20 years ago, when I started my digital advocacy, the ratio is 20-80. 80% of all the digital jobs are in Metro Manila. 20% is just divided among the regions. Today, we're hitting 45-55, with 45% in the countryside and 50% in Metro Manila. Under the term of President Marcos, in 2028, we hope to reach 50-50. 50% of all the IT jobs, and not just contact centers, but everything from game development, animation, software development, web development, and everything that's ICT enabled, even AI startups. We want to bring these jobs to the countryside. Now we realize why I call my talk Digital Inclusion. All right, how do we sustain momentum? Stakeholders should be involved, readiness for deeper collaboration, seeking ways to share and scale initiatives, and the most important thing, and I think WordCamp users or WordPress users agree with me, there has to be more and more mentors and really trainers to help the countryside. All right, so the way forward is to support regional partnerships, enable cross-regional learning, helping one region helping another, and provide engagement frameworks and maintain regional autonomy. Okay? So for this year, 2025, we ask WordPress communities to help us in moving all these suggestions forward. Now, let's go to another digital inclusion project. This is the Generation Connect Philippines. These are dialogues involving 24 years old and below. Filipinos 24 years old and below. Who are Filipinos 24 years old and below? Raise your hand. Oh, I'm glad you're here. Okay, are you sure? Be honest. So, what we need to do with Generation Connect is to realize that the DICT is creating policies, and many of our companies and government agencies are creating policies for the future. But who's going to really enjoy the future? Especially for us who are, Gen X. The ones who will really enjoy the future are the young people. But why are they not in the policy table? Why are we always dictating the type of policies that these young people enjoy or will benefit from? So, under our watch at the DICT, we are inspired by the International Telecommunications Union Generation Connect program, which consults young people 24 years old and below in terms of policy design and policy development. So, yan po, that's the goal of Generation Connect. So, in a more detailed way, Generation Connect is to establish a dynamic platform to foster robust interaction among the youth, ICT leaders, and key stakeholders. Young people, you don't usually go to a government official and say, hey, can I give a suggestion? Usually, they don't want to do that. But here, we prepare a platform for them to speak up. What do you think about cyberbullying? What do you think about, these things that are causing you harm on the internet? So things like that, and how we can solve these problems. So the other thing is to drive meaningful dialogues, disseminate valuable insights, and cultivate enduring alliances, and of course, to ignite passion in the upcoming generation, equipping them with pivotal knowledge pertinent to the digital era. Again, just for WordCamp Asia, this is the first time I'm showing some of the analytics that we did last year. What are the major challenges of young people in the digital age? Out of around 60 Generation Connect events that we have had around the Philippines, these are some of the results. 28% is around cyberbullying. 27% is around online privacy concern. 19.9% is really about access to technology. So they don't really care about cyberbullying and online privacy. They just don't have access to technology, especially in remote areas, and of course, social media pressure. All right, so what are the other emerging challenges? There's peer dynamics. There's a lot of, interaction that pushes young people to do something. There's misinformation, there's disinformation, there's lack of digital literacy and etiquette, financial capabilities, of course, for people who cannot afford access or solution platforms, and online phone scams. These are the things that young people below 24 years old are saying are their challenges. So now we know at the national level that we have to create and craft strategies around these challenges. All right, so what are the policies that they suggested? Our young people participating in Generation Connect suggested that there should be more education and awareness campaigns. There should be enhancement of policy. There should be equitable technology access. These are top in the list. Seminars, webinars, skills training, and this WordCamp Asia is one of the interventions that is so potent. If we can replicate this per region, and this is my challenge to the WordPress community of the Philippines, maybe you want to partner with my office. And of course, infrastructure development, digital literacy, parental involvement programs, and cybersecurity, and of course, the creation of community-based trainings and youth-centered technology initiatives. So that is the Generation Connect Pilipinas. I have hundreds of pictures to show you that we have actually brought a lot of awareness and consultation interventions down to every province and city in the country. It's so empowering na hindi lang taga Manila na mga young people ang may boses na ngayon. Even those in the provinces already can share with us what they feel should be the digital policies that should be in place. Okay, last, DIWA, Digital Innovation for Women Advancement in 2022, when I was appointed as Undersecretary, Secretary Ivan Uy also told me to go to Geneva. Wow, first time in Geneva. It was the International Telecommunications Union conference where every country will get the chance to run for a seat in the 48 council-member ITU Council. Out of 193 countries in the world, only 48 countries can sit in the table for purposes of policies. And guess what? The Philippines won. We are part of the 48-country council. And so, the Philippines need to name a counselor. There should be an ITU counselor. And di ba, did I tell you I am counselor of Bacolod City? The next time, I woke up and became the counselor of the whole Philippines in the ITU council. All right, so we sat in the ITU council, and who among you here are familiar with United Nations? Yay! UNICEF. Yay! World Health. Yay! ITU. Not so. Yeah? But ITU is the United Nations arm for ICTs. Do you know how old is UN? I always keep on forgetting, but it's around 70 plus years old. Just check in the internet. But do you know how old is the ITU? This year, we are celebrating our 160 years as an international organization. What does that tell you? 160 years ago, countries gathered to create a collaboration not for food, not for trade, not for health, but to communicate. But to communicate. I'm sure it was the Morse code at the time. So, in 2022, after 156 years of the existence of ITU, something happened. An amazing thing happened. We elected the first ever woman Secretary General of the ITU. Her name is Doreen Bogdan Martin. I used to stalk her because she was deputy minister when I was not appointed yet. But finally, a woman figure leading digital in the world. And so one morning in that Geneva conference, I was just asked, hey, you, Undersecretary Giselle, go to the stage. I said, why? You are going to represent Asia Pacific. Huh? And then everyone was there. There was Asia Pacific, there was Caribbean, there was Latin American, there was Arabian, there was all the continent in the world, Africa, and we were all women. And I said, excuse me, I'm not a minister, I'm just a deputy minister. And they said to me, there's practically no woman digital minister in Asia Pacific. So I said, okay, sana hindi magalit si secretary, no? But I was there, I was asked so many questions, we were all interviewed, and finally the last question was, when you go back to the Philippines, what will you do to ensure gender digital inclusion? And I asked myself for a few seconds and say, what is stopping women from participating in digital? What is stopping young girls to enroll in computer science and ICT courses? And the answer came to my mind. It's all about mindset. It's all about culture. It's all about changing the dynamics. And so I said, I have to think of a Tagalog word. Nobody will understand Ilonggo. I said, ano ba yung mindset? sa Tagalog. Sabi ko, diwa ba yun? Diwa, sa isip. Kasi hindi ako Tagalog eh. And I started to build an acronym, Digital Innovation for Women Advancement. And when the mic was passed on to me, I said, oh, that's easy. Actually, we've already started initially a program called DIWA. It's called Digital Innovation for Women Advancement to increase the number of women and girls in ICT. And it all started in my mind. It's not started yet. I just said it started. But now again, we snowballed. We have a big community of DIWA. I want the women here of WordPress to come join and help me with DIWA. We have a big Facebook page. We already started this advocacy. It was caught and captured by APEC and ASEAN. The Philippines now is trailblazing participation of women and girls in ICT, not only in the Philippines, but in APEC and ASEAN. This is our vision. It's not empty. There are bases for this. There's a basis for this. We have international documents sharing or stating that every country needs to work for digital inclusion. And I think the WordPress community, that it's not really all men here, a lot of women as well. We are so very digitally inclusive. Realities, this is what's happening. I don't know with other countries. We have a lot of visitors here from other countries, but in the Philippines, we're only hitting around 16 to 17% for STEM participation, especially in ICT, right? These are the numbers in ASEAN. We have only a few number of women and girls in STEM-related courses, including ICT, and women only comprise 33% of STEM graduates, right? In the labor force, participation in ASEAN is lower than men. Okay, when I talk of ASEAN, of course, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, I know we have a couple of friends here, also from other ASEAN countries, but from the other continents, thank you also for coming to the Philippines. In the workforce, we only have a small number of women participating in ICT-related fields. All right, so what's our strategy for DIWA? I'd like to ask especially the Filipinos here in the crowd, we want to ask your help in any of this strategy. Okay, so one is to ensure that policy making involves women, digital technologies education involves women, and of course, we want to use ICTs for purposes of, addressing gender-related issues, okay? So month is Women's Month, I think, for the world and also for the Philippines. What can we do? So far, what we have been doing is promoting ICT and STEM. We also address gender biases in ICT. We provide scholarships and mentorships, partner with industry, and advocate for policy changes. One of the very potent strategy of DIWA is to look for DIWA rock stars. Over the last 2 years, I have been looking and networking with women cyber scientists, women data analysts, and a lot of other rock stars in ICT. And we match them as a mentor with young girls. And you know, a lot of young girls, especially in high school, would walk up to me and say, Yusek, I think we are now more brave to tell our fathers that we don't want to be blank, I don't want to see the course or discipline, but we rather want to be a data scientist, or we rather want to be a web developer, or we rather want to be a WordPress expert, but not this profession that our fathers and mothers are forcing us to go to. Because now we say ICT skills are important, and of course, advocate for policy changes. Why do we do this in DIWA? Why do we say we need to advocate for policies that increase the number of women and girls in ICT? Of course, the number one reason is for gender equality, but there are other reasons. It's for economic empowerment. Today, I have to share with everyone, in the Philippines, there's more jobs than takers of these jobs. We had a lot of jobs, where the hiring rate is only around 20 to 25%. Okay? So, in short, there are many industries that reject over 75 to 80% of our applicants. And so they go to become freelancers, they go to become, other things. But the point is, if we upskill our women, if we upskill our girls other than just boys, because we know ICT is basically something that probably you look up as something that is a skill for men and boys, then the women in the economy, the girls in the economy, add up to the numbers. Innovation and creativity is also a reason. Social development and inclusion is also a reason. All right, so I have here, just to break the ice, I am signaled for 15 minutes, but I think I'm down to my second to the last slide. Can we play this video with the sound? May sound ka? I just want to flex my AI creative skills. Now, this is all about Diwa, just to put in some audio. And then I'll wind up with a story about why I am here. All right, so that's the digital innovation for women advancement, and everything there is AI generated. No, but I have to explain that there's a reason for that hand sign. It's the Diwa hand sign, okay? So Diwa hand sign, we've developed it. So you put it like this. Okay, so that's Diwa. Everyone is familiar with that already in our network. It means that women are nurturing. We want to help other women. We want to uplift other women. And women are beautiful. And so finally, just to wrap up, those are the 3 digital inclusion programs of the DICT. For those who just came in, we have the regional ICT summits and exhibitions, which aims to include all the farthest regions and cities in the Philippines. Please reflect on what your countries are doing. If they have strategies to involve far-flung regions to also enjoy the same benefits as in the digital age as the metropolis. We have the Generation Connect Philippines, which is consulting young people to be part of policy making. And we have DIWA to improve the number of women and girls in ICT. And finally, I thought it was my last slide, but I just quickly want to share with you my own principle as a leader. A leader in the digital innovation age should be somebody who creates ecosystems. And when you create ecosystems, you have to build cities and build communities. That's why WordPress is not just a brand, it's a community. And when you create leaders, you have to take a look at that leaders are not only positions and titles. Real leaders in the innovation age listen, we empower others, we act, we deliver on our promises, we evaluate whatever we're doing wrong or right, and we reflect. And finally, my story. 2 days ago, I was given a notification by WordPress for congratulating me for celebrating my 7th year anniversary as a WordPress user. 7 years ago, I was invited to attend WordCamp Iloilo City. I was a politician. I did not know anything about WordPress. I came there. I was so surprised they made me keynote speaker. Maybe because I don't know anything about tech. So you go inspire us as the first speaker. And then after that, of course, thank you to JC and Iloilo people. That opened my eyes. I was a politician at the time. I was campaigning. I was trying to win votes. And I said, maybe I should have my own website. And I was about to hire a web developer. And when I saw the quote, because I'm not rich and everything, I said, well, okay, I can pay for this. But when I attended WordCamp, I said, I will be my own web developer. I will make my own website. Yeah, so I started joselbatapasige.com. Please go to my website. It's not so very complicated, but it contains everything that I'm doing as a public servant. I want to inspire all the public servants in the world to make sure that everything they're doing, the people they serve know. Because we need to communicate with our constituency. And so my website now also became very popular because I dish out a lot of information that a lot of people needs to know in the Philippines. And in addition to that, I also added another WordPress site which I use in my profession as a law professor. So I'm a lawyer for 27 years. I'm a law professor for 26 years. And over this span of 22 years, I'm teaching legal research. And first 10 years, I asked them to submit a book-bound research. Printing, and I said, why not put all your researches in a site? And so legalresearchph.com is also my site. That is where my students actually submit all their legal researches. And so I'd like to take this opportunity to thank WordPress for empowering me to be, I think, a dynamic public servant by always sharing information through my website to all Filipinos. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Attorney Josel Batapasige. That was a wonderful speech. And the views so open source, and so, thank you very much, first of all, for starting the ICT department of the government of Philippines and leading Philippines in the digital age. It's because of the leaders like Attorney Josel Batapasige that in Philippines, PHP actually is the currency. It holds the value. So thank you very much once again. This is a small token of appreciation from Thank you very much. Maraming salamat po, Ate Josie.
All right. Kamusta ang lahat? In English, how's everybody? Oh, I cannot hear anyone. Kamusta ang lahat? How is everybody? I want louder. All right. Welcome to the keynote panel discussion, and I would love to introduce our keynote speakers to talk about WordPress in 2030. Hong Phuc Dang, the founder of FOSS Asia, an organization that promotes free open source in the region. She is also the chair of annual FOSS Asia Summit, Asia's lead open source conference for 16 years now. John Ang, one of the co-founder of WordCamp Asia, strategy director for Altis, the enterprise WordPress hosting company. Courtney Robertson, open source developer advocate at GoDaddy, and co-founder of the WP Community Collective. Noel Tuck, human-made co-owner and humanitarian volunteer in Ukraine. And it's going to be moderated by Raquel Manriquez.
Hello. I'm laughing because I'm like, do we have a mic? And it was behind me. So welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is going to be a casual talk with a lot of recognizable faces. I think most of you know everybody, but we are going to do a few little short intros and then one little bit longer intro. So as we begin, we're going to just start. Actually, yes, let's go ahead and, Noel, will you just give a little bit more, after you're done drinking, a little bit more of a background to who you are and what you do?
My name is Noel, and I build websites. I've been doing that since 1995, and that's been a good fun ride. And at some point, I found WordPress, and then there was plugins, and there was custom post types, and then I really got hooked, and the rest is history. So here we are.
Thanks. And then Courtney, why don't you give a little bit more on you, your background?
So I found WordPress while teaching in a high school in 2005. So 2.3 maybe, began going to camps in 2009 and contributing at that time, found the training team in 2014, started contributing heavily to the WordPress project at that time. Later on, would go back to teaching before jumping into being an open source developer advocate or handling developer relations at GoDaddy.
Awesome. John, go ahead and give your backstory.
Hi. Found myself in WordPress 2010. Got a client website hacked before I started working in this company. That was a long time ago. Asked for help, got help, and became part of the community. And worked with a few others to start WordCamp Asia. It's been a privilege. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm sure most of us do recognize the three faces. And I guess technically I didn't introduce myself. I'm Raquel, and I actually founded a WordPress agency in 2010 and then exited and was the community manager for Elegant Themes for 6 years and just exited. And now I started my own WordPress events consultancy business. But what we really want to do is just showcase a new face, and we're going to introducing you all to Hong. So Hong, why don't you give a more extensive background and share with the community who you are and what you do?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Hong. Thank you very much for having me. So I'm actually recognize many faces in the audience, even though I'm connected with a lot of WordPress contributors. This is the first time I'm actually at a WordPress conference. So once again, thank you very much. So I started an organization called FOSS Asia. So this is an organization that advocates for the adoption and development of free and open source software in Asia. So the reason behind why we started this organization, my first connection to open source was back in university when I was a student back in 2007, and I got into like Linux user group in Singapore at that time and learned about like different open source technology. And I realized that open source has opened a lot of doors for me as a person that did not have a tech background. And I feel that it doesn't only create opportunity for people to connect, but also empower you with knowledge that enable you to achieve many things in your life. And I wanted to bring this opportunity to people in my country, which was Vietnam. So we started this organization. In the beginning, what we wanted to do is to create a platform where people can get together to talk about various open source projects out there where people can use, where people can contribute. And over the years, Force Asia has become a quite a recognized organization here in the region. So we develop multiple open source software on our own, also on hardware. We run education programs, so we work together with universities around the region, Vietnam, Singapore, India, Thailand, Malaysia. So what we try to do is to get open source technology into education coming from the bottom up. We run our own coding program where young developers can learn by working together with mentors on real open source projects. And one last thing that I just want to mention before we continue, we run one open source conference for the past 16 years, which is the Open Source Summit, where we bring a lot of different organizations. So we have many WordPress speakers at our conference in the past, and different organizations will come together to introduce their solution to the wider community. And our next event going to happen in Bangkok next month, 13th to 15th of March, just for information. Yeah.
Awesome. We're so excited that you joined the panel. So welcome to our community.
Thank you.
So we know that our topic is future of WordPress. No, it is the future of WordPress. But we've been kind of having this angle of future of WordPress in 2030. That's what we're going to focus on. So what's crazy is that earlier as we were talking is it's 2025 and 2030 is in 5 years, and Courtney pointed out that 2020 was 5 years ago. And that is very, I don't know, just one of those check-ins in life that is felt, let's just say that. So we're going to focus on WordPress in 2030, and what we want to do is just kind of dive into the big picture. So let's start off with Noel. Noel, let's just get started on like blue sky. What do you see?
Yeah, let's dive in. Future's always fun. So I think to look forward in the next 5 years, or where are we in 2030? It's less about the features, and it's more about the currents, the movements of the overall project, and to figure out where we are there. Then it kind of makes sense to look back, and even looking back at, let's say, 2022, how many people are from the Philippines here? And if you know Rappler with Maria Reza, keep your hand up. Okay, so basically everyone. So during the 2022 elections, we were hosting and still host Rappler on our servers, and we were the only news site that still stayed online. So regardless if you agree or disagree with the media or whatever, it's so important that these news outlets do stay online during such critical moments and when people go through trying to make informed decisions about their country's future. So that is something worth fighting for in terms of what we build and what we do. At the same time, in 2022, we also saw the full-scale invasion of Russia into Ukraine, which was very, very sad. And it's been incredibly heartbreaking. I spend a lot of time in Ukraine, and I've seen people, just like yourselves, become volunteers, combat medics, helping out at the local shelter, whatever it may be. Everybody is rising up, and when they're trying to help and support their country, they also look to technology. And technology is not always there to support you. X may derank you. Buy Me a Coffee will not allow you to be on the platform anymore. Patreon will not allow one of my charities to be on the platform. So we encounter a lot of issues. And in cases like that, I have seen an incredible growth of WordPress in that region because people just grab that tool because that is the best available tool that they see there. Again, that is something worth fighting for. That is a piece of technology that is so useful because it allows people to communicate with the rest of the world. It's almost like a digital human right. And that is something worth protecting. So if you ask me, where is WordPress in 2030? It's not so much about full site editing, Gutenberg, or whatever feature. It's about maintaining this piece of technology you all contribute to and you all made happen, which is so integral to the world and humanity.
I love that. Courtney, do you have anything to add to the big picture of WordPress in 2030 that would coincide with Noel's assessment?
Yeah, you know, the mission of WordPress is to democratize publishing, and that speaks to the free and open web. And we know that a lot of social media platforms can be walled gardens, or they can change their terms at any point and become a walled garden later. And the beauty with tools like WordPress is that you can host it in so many places. I even know, I think recently I saw, maybe it was JJJ or some other folks, we're hosting it on a Raspberry Pi at home. So there are ways that you can get really scrappy to host your site if you can't find a host that would be the right fit depending upon what your needs are, right? The ability to have a voice and communicate no matter what social media platforms come and go. I think we see that that is becoming that much more urgent. I also think that looking again towards the future in 2030, right now, those of you that are working in organizations that have hiring needs related to WordPress should be heavily investing into the training material available now so that by the time the talent has learned how to use WordPress and grown as a developer or a designer or any number of other areas related to it, that those folks are skilled up and ready, right? That's something that I believe very thoroughly in the job pipeline, and you have to reverse engineer the job pipeline. If you want to hire people that have the right skills, you need to work backwards and make sure that there's the right training materials. So give a plug for learn.wordpress.org always. But I really think that those are super valuable skills that will apply both to an employment environment, but also to a personal need to have a free and open web.
That's awesome. So with that in mind, WordPress right now, we're still 43%, right, Noel? Okay, so we've plateaued a little bit, and we're seeing that the importance of the software is the powerful tool that it is. It's open source, you know, we get it by just using it, and we contribute to it, and it sustains. And on that note, sustainability. That's obviously a big part of what's going to keep this project moving. So, John, what are your thoughts on sustainability in WordPress and seeing it in our future?
Can I talk a little bit about growth of WordPress?
Okay.
As well. No, because I see these faces here, right? And it reminds me of the vision that we had when we started WordCamp Asia. How many of you here is your first time listening to a foreign speaker from Europe or the Americas? Like, how many of you is your first time? Like, in WordPress? How many of you have met, like, one of the speakers and so on that you have saw online, like the founder of WPCUI, this person that you saw his nickname online and been able to hear them speak? How many people of you had listened to Google, you know, speak at a live event for the first time? So all these things are things that we were very focused on to try to bring over to Asia, because I do believe that the next stage of sustainability, the next stage of growth for WordPress is in Asia. So the rest of the markets, Americas and Europe has had time to mature with WordPress. Yes. Lots of trust there. And then this is where the next stage of WordPress is at. And it's also up for us to actually ensure that the system that's been built is maintained, I guess. It's a little bit of what I want to share. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Courtney.
5 years from now, I want to see more thought leaders from Asia speaking in Europe and America at our conferences. I want to hear the voices coming from Asia. I know that the talent is here. I know that the thought leadership is here. And I'm excited to spend time with all of you, but I'm also just as excited about the idea of not just being eager for people from lots of other destinations to come and spend time with you, but for you to mature into those spots where we are eager to bring you in to other parts of the world as well, and really make a big impact, because I know that you can. I know that it's there. And I think also to the sustainability piece, just to touch briefly, I'm going to give a plug for tomorrow. Hari and Izata are giving a presentation around the contributor dashboards project that's underway. And that brings some transparency to the project about who is contributing, how are they contributing. Right now we're gathering data from GitHub, but there are many other data inputs. And so if you want to see more transparency around contribution, that is a big part of sustainability. Do we have the contributor base to keep growing, to keep this project functioning? Please check the schedule for tomorrow, find where Harry and Izata are going to be, and get yourself to that one.
Yeah, I have to say that was even a learning point for myself, even coming here, and John expressed that, is that the APAC community doesn't necessarily have access to some of the brands and personalities that we've seen online from Europe, from the Americas, and that is really special. That is really special that this event's even happening by the blood, sweat, and tears of volunteers, and that you guys brought it here, and that we had even the government helping. I mean, even that in itself is an example of sustaining the future of WordPress. So maybe a little clap right there for that. And to Courtney's point too, because sometimes her and I are both from the US, and we could be just more so like blind about, first of all, ignorance of not even realizing the access that is not available, but also, you know, we want to see more APAC speakers as well. So I'm glad that there's like the opportunity for us to be able to be here and inspire, but at the same time, we can't wait to be able to see, you know, more APAC representation in Europe and in America. So on that note, as we're talking about sustainability and where we are today, Hong, do you have anything to add to like WordPress and what you see of, and I know especially because you come from all open source, right? And how do you see the future of WordPress and the importance of it, especially from somebody who uses multiple platforms?
Yes. So I think in the future, we should just see the closer connection and integration between WordPress community and the overall open source ecosystem. So in the recent development, you see a lot of not only the people within WordPress, but the cut between like back end, front end, and you see the integration with Next.js or integration with Vue.js and React.js. So when we talk about the community in 5 years of WordPress, it's not only like the poor WordPress contributors anymore, but the people in the wider open source ecosystem from different backgrounds. So this is one thing. But I also see that there is a development into integrating Web3 technology into WordPress, like the decentralized authentication. So that's what I heard. So we also see the collaboration between WordPress and Web3 space. So this is something I see in the future, and the whole bunch around like AI development. The thing that probably different from now compared to the future is the landscape of contributor base and user base could be much more wider than now. and touch on the sustainability that you mentioned earlier. There's a lot of different aspects that we can talk about sustainability, but I just want to emphasize one thing. We run our own open source projects, and I understand that it's always a big challenge to sustain the project in terms of keep people on board, increase the user space, and of course, getting funding to continue the work that we do. One thing that I find really important is how do we empower the next generation of users and developers. So I think that people need to get into open source, need to learn about WordPress from the very young age. So we don't need to wait until people on the university level or working adult to introduce them into open source technology. At FOSS Asia, what we try to do is we collaborate with universities, high school, and even secondary school. We have a network of teachers, professors who are passionate about open technologies, connect with them, and provide them materials so that they can introduce and try to integrate into their teaching environment. Yeah, and the focus, I would say, focus on the younger generation. How can we inspire them and get more people to use and contribute back to the open source in general?
That's really inspiring. I will say that that's something that on our side of the pond is severely lacking, is youth being interested in WordPress, especially with Wix and Squarespace and Webflow. And I mean, I know other agencies that they will pay money to migrate off of WordPress into Webflow against the developer's suggestion, but because it's easy for them.
Exactly. I want to add one point more. Do you know that some from Vietnam, in university in Vietnam, people actually teach the student how to use Wix in their curriculum. So they introduce the software. So there are a lot of software that a professor can introduce to their student, but why they have to choose a commercial closed source software to be introduced? Yes, there's always relationship between different commercial layout services with the education sector. So what we try to do is we do the bottom-up approach. We encourage the people in the community to introduce alternative, yeah? So because there's on a high level, we have people coming in and try to sell their service to the university, but then on the different spectrum, so there are more people who are passionate about open technology, and this is the people that we need to work with and give them the opportunity and empower them to bring more of free software into their classroom. Yeah.
I love that.
Can I give a shout out there related to this? If you haven't had a chance yet to check out the Campus Connect program and the work that Pooja and Anand, who are co-founders at WP Vibes, are doing in India, it is amazing. They are building essentially a mini WordCamp right inside of the universities, right? And so they're reaching out to computer science students at their universities and building out programs, visiting many different types of universities as well, to introduce those that are in a comp sci program that aren't getting WordPress. I come from teaching in boot camps. They're not teaching WordPress in the boot camps. They're teaching normal front or back end skills without giving space for a CMS platform and all of that, what that could look like or do. So India community, you're rocking it already, and I'm so excited to see where that program itself goes.
So Noel and John, would you say that there is a lot more youth involvement in WordPress in APAC, especially compared to the rest of the world?
I don't know if I would highlight APAC in that regard. I just think that the larger challenge around WordPress is that it's probably not perceived as exciting. And that is what technology needs to be today. Attention is the scarcest resource you can have around, and to be able to command attention, let's say like a Next.js away from React, is incredibly powerful. And what we see is we see a lot of tools that have spent a lot of money in the last couple of years, be it Contentful or Contentful is a good example at the enterprise level. Webflow is a good example at the kind of SMB consumer level. Just taking away a lot of the attention and doing an just a good job of product marketing. And I think that is where we've probably lost some ground, so we can try to push it into schools and try to do various outreach, but the devil advocate in me is saying we need to bring more to the table once we actually talk to these people. We need to either bring the excitement through the product marketing and say, okay, the product's good enough, we just need to market it differently. Or there's an approach around the actual features and how we I don't know, provide these tools, because WordPress has become harder to use. The time to install for hosts has increased. So that there's definitely a degradation at that level that needs to increase in terms of onboarding and that 5-minute install from back then. How does the 5-minute install from 2010 translate to 2030?
Yeah, I think there is a lack of youth in WordPress, and especially in Asia. I actually haven't compared it to Americas and Europe, but I do think the idea of WordPress moving into newer technologies, Gutenberg, the blog editor, being really enhanced. In the future, hopefully Gutenberg will be pushed onto the rest of the admins. If you could be working with a newer language, if you could accept the React developers to join in, that could be a bit of a resurgence for WordPress, getting them excited. And I think that's happening, actually. And even right here, I can see there is a lot more young faces than I'm actually used to. So I think that's happening, and it's actually probably happening right under our noses, yeah.
So let's pivot a little bit and talk a little bit on the technology side, especially when it comes to AI, which is a pretty big deal, I think we all agree. So maybe start off big picture a little bit, and what are we doing? Like, how do we leverage WordPress and AI and still have human-made sites? Did you see what I did there? I just told everybody I don't do dad jokes, and I just did. I'm sorry. Who wants to start?
What was the question? You caught me so off guard with this joke.
AI. Let's talk AI and WordPress. And what are we doing to keep WordPress here and relevant in 2030?
It's a good question. I think a lot of people are just trying different things. So we're seeing a lot of point features. And I'd say the overall market is at that place. So agentic AI is a big conversation point for the industry. But no ecosystem has cracked that code yet. There's no pressure for us to all of a sudden crack the agentic code for a solution as large as WordPress today, tomorrow, whatever that may be. So I think we absolutely need to do the work in terms of discovery and going down that path. But I think in the meantime, it's great that we're seeing so many point solutions and just experiments go out there. And I think that reflects the industry as a whole. I think it reflects the posture of governments not wanting to sign AI legislation because everybody wants to be on the forefront of the benefits and the upside. So everybody is just in a kind of, let's try to build, do more. So if anything, just have fun and build cool stuff. I think it's reminiscent a bit of the plugin boom we had in 2010, 2009. I think it's kind of similar to that. So seeing this kind of cyclical opportunity around what that may represent for WordPress and its growth.
Yeah, and just adding on to that, I think we've seen a lot of, WordPress is pretty good at content publishing. It's probably one of its key strengths, I guess, being a CMS. But one of the things that's been happening across the years is using AI to generate content. And that's not been quite working out. And what I see as the future is making sure that AI is automating tasks to make it easier to use WordPress, to make the blog editor somewhat automated, but content should be still useful to human beings. I'm sure one of the Google Talks out there has talked about this, but I see AI helping us to do all the small tasks so that we can focus on what makes sense to the readers.
Yes, so I totally agree with John that so I see like very exciting development in the AI space and AI generated content that make our job easier and work faster and also can do like repetitive tasks like updating a plugins, but there are a lot of things that AI won't be able to do. So I think that the development of AI would not replace us human, but also give us space to focus on something more important. For example, Noah mentioned something that really important earlier about the user accessibility. Yeah. So when we want new user come to WordPress and want to host it on their own server, it's still challenging for the user. So this is something that requires of human. We need to come up with a strategy. So we have the AI generate the content for us, create the design for us, but we also need to tell the AI how to make it closer to the user experience. This is something that requires human. And customization. So human also require in terms of customize different system that fit different needs because AI will not at the point not understand all the needs out there of individuals, and this is still require the input of humans. So what I see is so AI will not replace us. It just keep us focused on something more important in the future.
I think too a lot around how AI, people are afraid, will I lose my job to AI, etc. No, probably not, but it is changing our jobs. So I'll take you back to when I learned to begin coding. In Simple C, it was 1999, it was an evening class, it was Introduction to Programming. It involved paper and pencil. It was not in a computer lab, computers were not provided. I happened to have a good friend that lent me a command line CLI of Red Hat, and so it kind of matched what was on the screen. But that screen was dim because 1999 and an evening class. That's how I learned to code. And now, if I make a mistake and I can't find where that semicolon's supposed to be, that AI can tell me really fast. So I think about it from the education perspective of how it's going to change how we learn to code, how we learn to do some of these things, but I think also it is going to mean that junior devs need to skill up further than where they were 5-10 years ago, right? The expectations of a junior dev are now going to shift to be understanding why the AI code is bad, rather than having them pair code and someone more senior help them find it. It will be on them to do a little bit more digging into why is the AI code maybe not as efficient as it should be. So I think that that's going to change some of the educational approach to it. You'll be able to level up faster, but you also have to understand sooner why that's good or bad.
Yeah, Noel, what do you have to say?
Just a small side note to what John and Hong said before about the automating work and kind of replacing some of our manual work with automations and workflows. I think that's almost table stakes. Like, we should be doing that anyway in a very rapid form. I think the really interesting opportunity, and that's where the excitement comes in, that's where the attention comes in, is if we're able to unleash a higher degree of creativity on the platform. So if taking a lot of the AI block builders nowadays, I'll be honest, I think many create unimaginative or just not very interesting blocks. Maybe the image is on the left, maybe the image is on the right, maybe it's 2 columns, the other one's 3 columns. Okay, great. It's just a bunch of layout, and the vibe from 10 years ago to today is still the same. Oh, that looks like WordPress, right? Everybody knows that feeling. So how do we create content that doesn't look like WordPress? How do we bring in the same vibe and experience that you have from a mid-journey, a bolt, a cursor, into WordPress? And maybe that's an integration, maybe that's a part of WordPress, but to essentially be able to bring the outcome that these other tools generate into WordPress, I think is where the opportunity and the excitement is.
Well, I think we heard a lot of good tidbits, and we're going to start Q&A soon. So I will just summarize and say that we want WordPress. Do we not? Like, we want to see it last through 2030, and relevance is important. And so there's certain things that we want to keep in mind as we think about its relevancy: AI, community, and the infrastructure and how easy it is for youth to get it. And I love Noel's point about we got to bring some attraction to it in a way we haven't been. So with that in mind, this is essentially the wrap up, and we want to start and open it up to questions. We don't have a terrible amount of time left, but if anyone has any thoughts or especially questions that we can actually help answer, feel free right now, go ahead and let's start that. Oh, do we have, okay, yes.
Kaito.
Do we have, yeah, we do.
Coming from behind. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm Kaito from Japan. I was thinking how we were talking about AI and it helps with design and content creation. I'm wondering what folks think about designers, content creators, and maybe agencies that build websites. Is their work going to get enhanced by AI somehow, or do they might have to like look for a new angle on the work they do? Like, what do we think about that demography of WordPress users?
So in my previous line of work, I did a lot of design thinking. And within design thinking, there's a lot of prototyping, ideation, testing things out. And I feel like AI is great for that. You get a concept, try it out for 5 times, see how creations work. So instead of you having to jump into Figma or jump into Adobe XD and so on, trying to work it out bit by bit, you use AI to generate 5 different versions and prototype it with your clients. And I feel very strongly for that approach, whether it's design or whether it's code. Yep. Sorry, did that answer your question?
We got another question.
Sorry.
How about authenticity of the work, considering that most, not some or not most, but I know some content creators would usually just use AI to claim it as their own work. So how can we do arbitration for that kind of or those kinds of people that would use AI for their own personal gains rather than producing actual work or actual talent?
I mean, I guess if the thing they're producing is the outcome you're willing to pay for, what's the difference? I mean, that's, you know...
But that's still not their own work.
You're talking about plagiarism.
Yeah, plagiarism, yes.
Yeah.
And then just claiming it for their own.
Well, I think we did touch on it, is the importance of authenticity and leveraging AI as a tool to help our authenticity is big.
Yeah, I do that a lot itself, where I have a pile of ideas and they're not in a logical order, and I ask my AI agents to help me sort them out and present them more logically for people, but I have to give it a lot of information to get it to that point. So I think that's the difference of how much information am I preemptively giving something versus just saying like one short question and then write an essay for me, right? At that point, it's not my work. But when I have to prompt it a lot to do something and it helps make it more consumable for other people, I think that is still my work.
Yeah, I don't know if these help, but I think we all agree that we want to keep the integrity of our work and not plagiarize.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do wonder, though, to that same point about consuming AI, you know, over the years, if we look at the major search engines, they figure out that people game the search engines in different ways. If search engines detect it's a pile of fluff and that it's all spam bot AI kind of things, they'll find ways to downgrade that information that's not. Content spinning is not a new thing, right? And that's been around, oh gosh, I remember the early 2000s, people doing SEO and content spinning. They find ways to identify that that's what you're doing and then they just penalize it, basically.
Yeah. There's a talk tomorrow about a recipe website that writes really authentic content. People want to copy them, but they are always staying ahead of the pack. So I think there is a way to keep your content to yourself and continue to be authentic, even if people are trying to copy you. It still works. Google's still going to rank you.
I mean, I think we're going to have to wrap it because I think, are even over time. But I will say that everybody up here, one more? Okay, yeah, if we do have one more, anyone brave enough to be that person?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, I am Shamim from Bangladesh. My question is to Courtney Robertson.
You may have to speak up a little bit.
Okay, I am Shamim from Bangladesh. So my question is to Courtney Robertson that how can a junior developer think beyond AI so that they can know their AI code is not better than their custom code? So what would be your suggestions to junior developer how they can level their app to understand coding like JavaScript and PHP? And you know that React is also relevant to develop Gutenberg block. So what is your suggestions to junior developers?
I think we're asking about how junior developers
can make their level up to understand the AI code is not good enough. That's it.
Sorry, we couldn't quite catch that. So junior software developers, how do they combat the rise of AI who may be taking their jobs, because the AI can get it like simple tasks and simple coding stuff done pretty fast. How do they stay in their jobs? How do they get the time to become senior developers, right?
Yes,
With the AI threat in place.
And not become dependent on AI.
Yes, exactly.
It's impossible.
Maybe Hong has a good idea.
So I think this is a good opportunity for junior developers because with AI, you can act like a senior developer now because a lot of the coding question that you don't have the answer, you can ask the AI. So we tried it out with our project before. There are a lot of automation tools, and I just saw yesterday that someone developed a tool that pick up GitHub issue and write a PR to fix that issue on GitHub. It's an open source framework, but based on an LLM model somewhere. So I think this is something that junior developers shouldn't be worried, but should you make use of AI to improve your skill and be faster in the scale of become a senior developers.
I think also about how, yes, a couple thoughts. One, junior devs that are in the middle of learning to become a junior dev, you can ask an AI bot, explain this to me in plain language, as though I don't understand it, or explain it to me as though I'm like in 8th grade, or something like that, so that you can understand the concept of what that code is doing that much faster. And then I think too, there was a second thought that was with this. Hold on. Sorry. It was kind of to Hong what you were sharing. Not just about asking and explaining it to me in plain language, but I think, when automobiles were introduced, no longer did we need people to operate a horse or whatever technology we were using before the automobile. Now, that did not take away necessarily from the overall job market. It just shifted, right? So there is just as many demands for the number of jobs, but the jobs shift a little bit as new technology is introduced. And that happens with every major type of technology that comes along, especially in communications. We don't need as much with landline phones in jobs these days, but we sure need a lot of people working in jobs that are related to mobile devices. So the invention of new technology doesn't negate that many more people still will need to be used in employment places in the future. It just shifts.
Awesome. Okay, well, we are going to go ahead and close it and go about our evening, but I will say that everybody up here is passionate about this, the future, and we want to see WordPress be sustained. And so if anyone has, I'm going to volunteer everybody's availability that you can come up to anybody up here and ask even further questions. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and call it. So you guys, everybody have a good evening. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Hello. All right. So thank you to our panelists for a lively discussion about the future of WordPress. Again, we have Hong Fook Dang, John Ang, Courtney Robinson, Noel Talk, and our moderator, Raquel Manriquez, a token from WordCamp Asia team.